Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So when we're talking about what is economic development, if you remember in the last class, we had a little bit discussion that economic development, which being identified with identified with less number of poverty. If you do believe that,
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
that means what? According to the demand, the supply must be there. So that means what we said, we are having a developed kind of a country. But despite of we do have everything in our country because of the population blast going into, because of the not
Ma'am,
much.
your voice is very slow.
My voice is not audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Today's weather is not good. That may be okay. So while we're talking about four stages, अन्य पिलाମାନଙ୍କୁ ଶୁଭୁଛି? Is it audible to others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, madam, it is
So
purely
came to the
audible.
four different stages of economic development. So four different stages of economic development consist of expansion, peak, contraction, and droughts. That means what? While we're talking about economic development, it will came to us with four different stages. ଆମେ जो economic development କଥା କହୁଛୁ, ଏଟା ଚାରିଟା different stage ରେ ଆସିବ. Stage 1 must be expansion. Now what do you understood by expansion? Expansion money expansion in each and every particular sector. Expansion in agriculture, expansion in industries, expansion in service sector, expansion in educational sector. So that means what? If you made expansion, because we do have a very high population, we do have a very high population. A high population जो भी था, it is highly required that you have to expand your your surrounding in terms of business, in terms of economy, in terms of agriculture, in terms of employability. You have to make expansion. And in that expansion, remember economic growth, or maybe it was go in a faster rate. Then it will drag down the interest rate. It will drag down the prices of the commodity. It will increase the purchasing ability of the individual. It will decrease the inflation pressure. So that was the key, role of expansion. If the expansion होगी, then these are the things which can be easily afforded. Then the second stage is peak. So if you remember, in marketing, we do have a marketing product life cycle. And I always say that peak is the saturation point. So always remember, in the product life cycle, we do have a peak, kind like a stage of introduction, growth, then maturity, saturation, and decline. So that peak is maturity and saturation. भितर कोडी ना कोडी आपण peak पाइबे. So when growth reaches at its peak rate, the cycle reaches to its apex rate. So peak of the growth usually results in some economic imbalances. ତା ମାନେ कोन जदि आपण peak रे पहुंची गेले तापर fall down हबो. So remember, peak is not always static, but it is highly have a fear that तापर fall down हे पारे, तापर peak पारे slow down हे पारे. So the second stage is, if you reach to the peak, then you have to constantly maintain that. Then came to the third one, that was called contraction. A correction occurs during a period of contraction, which makes growth is slow, employability is declining right now, and prices remain stable. It was not much fall down, but it was remain stable. That was called contraction. During the third stage of economic development growth. So maybe employment increases or decreases. Maybe there is a high rate of a growth, or growth is little bit an average, or maybe little bit of slow. But what exactly required, that stable prices of the commodity, so that each and every individual have a purchasing power after buy the particular products and services. Then the last stage of economic development is called drought. When the economy reaches at the low point, the growth begins to recover and the cycle reaches to its trough. So when economy reached to the low point, that means what we let's talk about, we have a population blast, and due to this population blast also we do have a certain kind of issues and challenges. Certain kind of issues challenges. The first challenge is that due to population blast we are seeing the unemployability in a very higher rate. Unemployability in a very higher rate. And when there is a unemployability which is came to a higher rate, remember the purchasing ability of the individual decreases, which is the most degraded kind of economic status. So top is a position says that this is the time when you feel it is low, you have to begin with recovery. So the government has to take certain measures, the government has to take certain initiation. So it will increase. Now phases of economic development increase. Got it? Then came to the next one, that was called 5 phases of economic development. So 5 phases of economic development came along with the first stage, that was called traditional society. Traditional society, which is based on most probably based on agricultural, based on intense labor, based on low level of trade, based on population without scientific perspective. So this is what a phase where technology is not have no use, you can say that. Fine. Then we have second page, which is called precondition of takeoff. Jadara takeoff of economy, तार just previous condition or precondition of takeoff as a result of general public beginnings. That means public enterprises was the startup and fostered the assembling the more economy or global standpoints. So that was called second stage or second phase. Then third was called takeoff. When the takeoff hoji, now first we can think of this stage as a time, the intense growth where industrialization is in a very high position, more and more workers employable in the industrialization, the financial and non-financial and industrial organization has concentrated and around to be our group. Then stage number 4 is drive to maturity. Drive to maturity is a stage where we say that our standard of living rises and use of technology which must be increased, diversification in growth, socio-economic objectives are being fulfilled, long-term objectives of the society has been identified and fulfilled apparently. So that was called drive to maturity. That is everywhere we say that the standard of living of the individual is rising. So what do you understood by rising in standard of living, Pitamani? What do you understood by that? Yes.
Employment increases.
Now only employment increases, nothing else. Is it only employability increases or employability increases? Employability increases, yes, one of the point you can say. But what else? How the standard of living
Demand and
rises?
supply also increase, ma'am, with this.
So I'm just asking one more question to all of you. How you say that the person's standard of living increases? If he got 1 lakh rupees and staying with a similar flow, what he was staying in the time when he was earning 30,000, then the standard of living no way increases. Am I correct or wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. That means what? If someone was in the last 5 years or 5 years before, he was having 30,000 salary and now he was having around 1,50,000 salary, then it should have to reflect in his purchasing ability. ବୁଝିପାରୁଛନ୍ତି ତାର purchasing ability ବି ବଢିବା ଦରକାର 30 ରୁ 1,50,000 is a long gap, and when we are talking about that must be a long gap, then purchasing ability ବି ସେ long gap ଦେଖାଯିବା ଦରକାର ବୁଝି ହେଉଛି। So standard of living ସେତେବେଳେ ଅଧିକା ହେବ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର innovation ଆପଣ you are try to buy innovation, right? Initially you are maintaining a scooty, then when you have a salary of 70,000 you are maintaining a vehicle that is a four-wheeler, might be with a like 7 lakhs rupees and all. When you have 1,50,000 rupees salary, now you are affording a vehicle which is cost around 20 lakhs rupees. So in that way, when your purchasing ability increases, like from a scooty to a vehicle which is cost around 20 lakhs rupees, we could able to say the standard of living is increased. From your tiffin to have a lunch in Taj, so that means your standard of living increases. That means what? You try to expertise or experience the luxurious thing which is available in the market. Market can खाली non luxurious ଜିନିଷ ରେ ଚାଲିବ no. Luxurious ଜିନିଷ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଲୋକ use କରିବେ, innovation use କରିବେ, more and more purchasing ability ଲୋକଙ୍କର ବଢିବ. That time period we say the it was drive to maturity in terms of economic development. What else was there? Age of high mass consumptions. Now, what you understood by high mass consumption? When the consumption ability increases, standard of living increase in that time period, simultaneously, individual can grow along with his consumption ability. What we normally experience in the Western countries. The Western countries, there the commodity prices are very high. Very high. Commodity prices are very, very, very high. Why commodity prices are very high? Because their earning was very high. That's why the capitalism or capitalist economy can be grow. Right? जदि भावନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ସବୁଠୁ minimum salary ହେଇଥିବ 50,000 କି ଲକ୍ଷେ ଟଙ୍କା. Right? So that means what? Everyone is apparently got a salary which is more than 1 lakh rupees. Now, if that was the situation, then it was very foremost that ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର commodity prices, pulses prices, crop prices, everything day to day life ରେ ଆପଣ ଯାହା ବି use କରୁଛନ୍ତି ସବୁର price increase କରିବା and in that way the formation of capital was being there in India. The business organization was being built up with a high profit and all. So got it. ପିଲାମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ମିନିଟ୍ ୱେଟ୍ କର ଭାଇ ବହୁତ ଜୋରେ ବିଜୁଳି ମାରୁଛି let me start once again it actually I'm audible
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
ma'am.
give me 1 minute so that I could start in the phone because ବହୁତ ଜୋରେ ବିଜୁଳି ମାରୁଛି give me 1 minute ଭାଇ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ left ହେବି ଆଉ ଥରେ ନାଇଁ left
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. If possible, you can stop the classes. Then after everything is settled, then you can proceed.
No, because from 6 to 7 I have another class. That's why I have rescheduled my class. Give me 1 minute. So let me download this PPT. Then we will start with the phone.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. No issue.
Just
No
give
issue.
me 1
Okay, madam.
minute.
Okay, Pilamane, is it visible right now?
Yes, madam, it's visible. You can process.
Okay. So we'll in the last stage, Rametilu, the stage of high mass communication. So while we're talking about this particular developed stage, it is the developed stage where we most probably see the Western countries. Probably as Western countries, high growth in the sense of the commodity prices are very high. Now, why the commodity prices of the in the specifically the Western countries of Joe country, the economic growth was there. You can see there is a high growth. Just a minute. Actually, this weather is something that they are going to keep then you can't talk. Okay. So what I'm saying that in developed countries, normally we see the commodity prices are very high. The reason because their earning was very high, the spending also very high, and then that way you able to experience that the market is evolving with a very generously. Jota ki amar nahi bele bele amar kono chine market re depression asoche. I'm talking about specifically the industries who are producing the products and services. Both time when we do not have enough amount of money in hand, we could not able to think about to buy the product. And जेतला product किनिबुनी industry move केमती करिवो fine. So Western country रे कोना everyone is being employed, everyone is having a very high life standard. Their ability of purchasing to all the products are very high. So in comparison to us, we could say that they have a very high edge of consumption or mass consumption. Fine. Now came to the different factors that is affected by the affecting this economic development. Look to this particular slide where I'm talking about there are around 7 different factors which can affect the economic development. Factor one is called political stability. Pilamane, mute. But mute kar diyo. Okay, so the first one is called political stability, then macroeconomic stability, level of infrastructure. One more was a factor that affecting the economic development, that was called natural resources. One more is educational standards, saving rates, barrier to trades. So first one is called political stability. Best example kono, we are experiencing 2024 elections very nearby. What Modi, Pradhan Mantri Modi or PM Modi is saying, we this bar 400 seat. Why 400 seat? Why someone is required 400 seats? Tell me. एथरक आपण मोदी रो मैनिफेस्टो देखिलेन ना नहीं मोदी सरकार कहउचंती और पीएम मोदी कहउचंती इस बार 400 सीट. Now what they will achieve with 400 seats? हमरो पूरा Lok Sabha और Rajya Sabha मिसिकी 500 something seats. Now why 400 seats?
Actually, they need a stable government.
Why? Ebe kono stable nahi.
Majority should be with them.
Yes.
Majority seats should be with them.
Yes, madam. Majority seat.
Yes, 300 plus is majority. Why is 400?
2/3.
Yes. Why? I'm asking why. What is the cause behind that 400 seats? Now, to pass any new set of rules, to pass any new set of regulations in parliament, you require 400 standing votes. You only require 400 standing votes. If you have 400 standing votes, that is the rule is or regulation is immediately passed through the parliament. Buchi parle ebe kahinki 400 seats. So
Yes,
this is how we are talking about. If you do have a political stability, then whatever future forecast is being made by the political party, that can be achieved. So सबबेले देखंतु political party 5 वर्ष ପାଇଁ କି ଗୋଟେ dream କରୁଛନ୍ତି, but बेले बेले 5 वर्ष भितरे that dream was not able to achieved by the political party. So he or she, the dreamer, is required more time. If the second terms came, the dream is being fulfilled. If not, the dream was not being fulfilled. Got it? So that is what we are talking about, the political stability. Political stability always emphasizes to creation of new rules, new regulations for the development of the country. I'm not talking about all the political parties are following this, but I'm talking about this should be the motto of the political party. If a political party do have a stability, he should implement that stability for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of the economic development, for the benefit of our country's development. Came to the next one, that was called macroeconomic stability. Macroeconomic stability is referring to a good interest rate, referring to a good inflation, referring to a equilibrized, GDP, where whatever the demand is being cited by the population, that supply could be able to identified and made. So that is what we are talking about, a good economical condition, which is called macroeconomical condition. Macroeconomical condition is monetary policy stability. Now, how monetary policy stability is? Now, what is the objective of monetary policy? Tell me first that. What is the objective of monetary policy? Demand and supply of money with creation of, money. That means what? Monetary policy foremost objective है दीटा. गोटे है money को create करिबो, money रो demand and supply को monitor करिबो. Money create केमती हबो? While creating credit, identifying credits, creating credit, motivate people to take credit from the bank, loan. Fine. जदि loan लोग को नेबे ताले अधिका पैसा create हबो. Fine. Second one is called, controlling the demand and supply of money. So what do you understood by controlling the demand and supply of money? Demand जित्ते अधिका लोगों को demand रहेबो in terms of loan, investment, financing, fine. जित्ते अधिका, the financial organizations, maybe RBI, maybe stock exchange, or maybe insurance companies could able to fulfill their demand and could be able to reach to the people with apparent amount of money when they are required. So that is what called the stability in monetary policy, stability in fiscal policy. Government income and government expenditure ratio is fiscal policy. The macroeconomic stability, fiscal policy stability. Now, how the stability will come? The stability will come if government earning increases and expenditure decreases. Then the stability will come. Now, stability in the industrial policy. So we had a subse new industrial policy that was called industrial policy 1991, which is reflected with MRTP Act, which is reflected with, the act of IPR. So eguda hala kodana new industrial policy ro motto that the industry should be enhanced, service sector should be enhanced. So if stability come in industrial policy, stability come in monetary policy, stability came in the fiscal policy, or stability came in the macroeconomic stability, in the interest rate stability, investment rates stability, then we could say that it is one of the factors for the economic development. What else was there? One of the growing sector is today's sector is infrastructure. So if the infrastructure stable, level increases, more and more people will think about, mera bhi ghar hona chahiye. Fine, I'm staying in a rental house, now I need my own home. Fine. So we are talking about, development of infrastructure in terms of hotel, hospitality, personal homes, and there are large number of infrastructure development is there. If that was happened also, it will drag certain kind of, economic development. Optimum utilization of natural resources. So, India is full of natural resources. That chhoda ame kochu Odisha also, full of natural resources. But ajika date, if you go and analyze that Odisha is full of natural resources, no, not there. Why? Because Odisha, government of Odisha placed MOUs 50 years back with different companies where the companies are being assigned to use the natural resources. But how they are using? They are using in terms of wasting the natural resources more, and it was not being properly monitored by the government of Odisha. Now, what happened? Now, there are so many different companies who got a MOU of 100 years. They are being now, canceling that MOUs because there is no natural resources left in that particular area. So that means what? If the natural resources, because creation of these natural resources is a process of 100 years. That creation of these natural resources, which is required 100 years. And if we will not, use these natural resources in a proper way, with a proper monitoring, with an optimum utilization, then remember the natural resources are being wasted, and this is how we could able to experience loss of employability of the people. Educational standard is one more factor for development. There is no need to describe, because you also know, if the educational standard increases, the creativity of the individual increases, the innovation of the individual increases, the skill of individual increases, and somehow this innovation, skill, creativity could able to create business, could able to create employability. So that's why educational standard is one of the major factor for the economic development. Saving rates and foreign rates. If we all save something in the bank, so the employability roila, or samaste kichi savings kolle, tale savings rate bodibo, and that in that way capital formation be happen. And the last one is called trade barriers. That means reducing the trade barriers. Trade barriers to reduce kariba kahinki darkar, because if you're really looking forward for the more and more in terms of people should go for the trade system, so you should decrease the restrictions. You should put control on restrictions, then only people are availing this trade concept into the mind. Now going very fast to the economic reformation. Fine, if you see this particular slide, this slide ta? I just want to show it in a proper way. Just a minute. Okay, is it visible? Economic reformation. Is it visible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when we saying this key economic reformation, as the particular slide is showing, the economic reformation is being divided into two parts. One particular part focuses to what is economic reformation and why the economic reformation is required. Right? That means this particular portion where it was written meaning and need of economic reformation. Another portion was new economic policy. That means after implementation of economic policy, what exactly happened to us, that was being over this particular second part. Came to the first part. First part, I'm just enlarging this one. Now, what you understood by economic, reformation? Economic reformation meaning was set of policies, rules, and regulations to achieve economic growth. So, economic, reformation means it is a set of policies, set of rules, set of regulations which is required for the economic growth. Now came to our, economic policy, where why the economic policy is required for India. India ପାଇଁ କି economic policy କାହିଁକି ଦରକାର ପଡଲା, କାହିଁକି ଆମେ new economic policies କୁ କଲୁ, କାହିଁକି ଆମେ reformation କଲୁ. There are certain, causes of that. The causes are, first one, in India, before the reformation, we do have a poor performance of public sector. We do have an adverse BOP. We do have a fall in foreign exchange reserves, huge debt on government. We do have an experience, very high inflation pressure. The terms and condition of World Bank and IMF is forces to go for the economic reformation. Egudala kono reasons. First reason ko asunto, poor performance of the public sector. Now, what is the difference between public sector and private sector? Public sector is a sector where government holding, government undertakings are very high. Fine, public manankara kono na government undertaking bahut adhika rahiba kothare na public, if it is a public sector. Private sector ela, the private parties can be feel free to take their own decisions and all. Private sector. So, reformation before reformation, we do have a public sector and do have a private sector, but the private sector was somehow suppressed by the public sector, and it was having high volume of interference of the public sector or of the government, where the stock holding of government is more than 50% in the private sector organizations also. So that means what? The private sector organizations cannot make sole decisions. Why? It was required. Fine. That means what? That is a very poor performance, and the performance is not up to the mark, and it is only because there is a huge interference of the government in the private organizations. So that's why the public enterprises are very high, and because the public enterprises are very high, they are not performing well. Then we have very kind of a adverse BOP. Now you have to tell me, what do you mean by BOP? Balance of payment kon pila mane? What do you mean by balance of payment?
The government spending and income, where government spending and income is shown, that is called balance of payment.
No, that is fiscal
Balance of
policy.
payment is a statement showing debit and credit of total imports and exports of a country.
Okay, very good. How you'll describe that?
Total ingoing, outgoing foreign exchanges and ingoing foreign exchanges. These are placed on the statement in the debit and credit side, and the difference. This is actually for balance of payment. Actually, these statements should be balanced. But deficit, if any, that will be made from the reserve of RBI, kept by RBI.
Okay. Then what else? Okay, koibe?
Parts are current account, capital account, and reserve account. Like 3 parts are there.
That I understood. Anyone
Thank you,
else
ma'am.
wants to answer? Yes. Now, what you understood by balance of payment? Balance of payment can be described in two ways. First one, how much reserves we have in India, like foreign reserves and the nationalized reserves. Fine, that has to be kept in a particular way. Then we told about, or the BOP is told about, how much import and how much export is being done. If there is a deficit condition, if India is importing too many things, but in bursts of that exporting a less amount of things, then we have a scarcity of money. Then the balance of payment was made from the reserves, foreign reserves. Apart from that, the currency reserves also being identified through the BOP. Our currency reserves means what? Like if we're talking about the US dollar, which is highly exercised in the whole world. Fine. So, English or Hindi language as a common language considered coaches in the worldwide, we are considering a common currency that was called US dollar. Now, when we go to make an import or export in the international market, then what happened? We do have to experience that our currency is not actually meant when it was go to international market. When we make an export, it has to be in US currency. When we are making for an import, it has to be in US currency. That's why when we are making an export, then it is okay for India. But if we will importing so many products from the international market, it do have a deficit. बहुत अधिका इटा पैसा पड़िबो, बहुत अधिका currency हमको दबाको पड़िबो. In that time period, we do have a deficit. जदि देखिए बहुत अधिका import होउचे और बहुत अधिका deficit होउचे, आपनकर currency value भी सही हिसाब रे कमी कमी जिवो, because it is directly put a adverse condition on the BOP. So before this, reformation, we experience an adverse condition for the BOP, a high adverse condition. Then, because of there is an adverse condition of BOP, there is a fall down in foreign reserves. So foreign reserves जोड़ा हम पाखे रहुची, RBI पाखे रहुची, government पाखे रहुची, that was being fall down. And it will create a huge debt on the government. So government कौन करिबो? जेहेतु ताको well-being को खाइबा दबार अच्छी, general utility products दबार अच्छी, से कौन करिबो loan करिबा आरंभ करिबो. And loan रो मात्रा धीरे धीरे बढ़ी चलिबो. So in that way, the government debt increases. And with that, the inflation pressure also increases. Government debt जति increase करिबो, से कौन करिबो ना commodity prices बढ़े दबो. Now when commodity prices increases, that was directly put a force on inflation because consumption ability decreases. So inflation pressure बढ़ी जिबो. So in 1991, when the Prime Minister is, Narasimha Rao, the Finance Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, take a brave step to make a, reformation. Kahingi reformation karthile? If you go to some of the case studies, we'll find out that before 1991, India have only 5 days currency in hand to run the country. And in that time period, the gold which is being kept in India, that was being goes to mortgage to World Bank to take money. But khali apna mortgage dele habani. World Bank was placing certain terms and conditions. What has to be maintained by India to got that particular loan. So reformation no gote reason eta bhi thila ki se jo terms and condition tako government of India manibakut padibo. So that reformation was made. So came to the new economic policy. New economic policy was imputed in 2 different ways. One is called stabilization measures through re, agutela structural reformation measures through re. Stabilization koile kon buje na adverse amar jo BOP thila, that is being corrected. Tracking with the inflation pressure tako tackling karagala, handle karagala with the introduction of LPG, privatization, globalization and liberalization conditions. Structural changes, what exactly made in structural changes? Structural changes improve efficiency, removing trade-related restrictions, and in that way, the structural changes, it was somehow related to what different kind of changes was made in rules and regulations, what kind of changes was made in terms of structures, in terms of formation. So, improve efficiency by formations change and removing trade barriers. So, restrictions are being withdrawn so that more and more people could able to exercise their product into the international market. So, what exactly the 2 major objective of this reformation? First one is reorientation of economic from one that was static, state-dominated and highly controlled on the market friendly, and next one is called next objective or the broad objective is macroeconomic stability, which is highly required in a developed country. Got a developed country major input kon na seti socio-economic objective fulfill hochi, macroeconomic objective fulfill hochi, kahar fulfill hochi, lokongara fulfill hochi, society ro fulfill hochi, so that when people are being happy and people are earning, people could able to save, can consume, can have a very high lifestyle. So it is directly, indirectly say that economy is developed. Now these are the, whatever I say, this is what the tara kono elaboration, taku niche padibe when I, give this notes to all of you, ita padibe apano. Now, what I have told you, poor performance of the public sector. So, public sector from 1951 to 1990, there is a very poor performance. That's why the formation is highly required. Adverse POP, where the import grew at a very high rate and without matching the growth of the export. That means what? Import bahut adhika, growth bahut kam, export bahut kam. Government could not restrict import even after imposing very heavy trafficking or traffic and fixing quotas. On the other hand, the export was very less due to low quality, high prices or other goods as compared to that is required in the foreign market. Fall in foreign reserves, if we do not have export, how we could experience the foreign reserves? Ame jodi bahar ko jinsa bikhiba, tahale foreign reserves asibo, foreign currency inflow hobo. If we will not able to export the products in the international market, then how could we think that inflow of currency will be there towards the, towards the particular country? So that was the reason of fall in foreign exchange reserves, huge debt on government when the expenditure of government was very high in comparison to revenue, which is only created from the tax and only created by the licensing format. Then it was very obvious that the government has to take a certain kind of loan from the international surface to run its country.
Pablo,
As a result, the government borrowed money from the bank, public sector, international financial institution like IBAT, IMF, etc. And inflation pressure, yes, it was increased because of there is a consistent rise of
Roy Babu,
prices in
Roy
the
Babu, ଆପଣ ଟିକେ
essential
unmute
commodities.
mute କରନ୍ତୁ.
ଭୋଗ ଆସିବ କାଲି ଗାବେ
So that was called inflation pressure increases. So this is what the economic reformation. ପିଲାମାନେ ବୁଝିପାରିଲ?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubt? Because in next class, we will go to the unit 2, and in next class, I will share the notes to all of you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, if you understood, then very good. If you will not, you'll just ask me what are the issues. If you face any issues, you can face. If you face, you can tell me. And regarding the, and today I'll get some WhatsApp messages that I am not able to know what is my specialization and all. What you all have discussed with Sujit sir also. So what we planned, we will open your portal for a certain time period. It was not yet opened. When it will be opened, we will make a, message to your
Announcement.
WhatsApp group. Yes, we have being message to your WhatsApp group. You can see what exactly the specialization paper you have opted. That you can see if you want to change for a time period, it will be open, and you have to change it in that portal. And that information we will send to university for your examination purpose. Fine.
Madam, that will be the final window opening, na? So which
Yes, that
someone
will
can
be final
replace.
one. Yes.
Okay, madam.
That will be final one, because it is your 4th semester classes is going on. If you feel comfortable, this is my, whatever data we are collecting, that will be collected from the book counter. Whatever books, maximum people have taken their books. We have collected that data from the Amara book counter, so that if you're really looking forward to change it, you change in the portal, came to the book counter, replace the books. So the portal and the book counter, simultaneously be changed. And once
Madam,
it is changed,
Madam, some
Madam,
books of
hello.
the specialization paper not yet been supplied to us from the book center. If you kindly share with us the PDF at least, so that for HR, finance and other papers. So it will be a
which
great
book
help.
is not supplied to the book?
For SAMP,
Which
for
one?
finance,
Merchant banking.
merchant
SAPM.
banking,
Merchant banking. Merchant banking.
and MTD, management of training for the HR divisions, HR specialization.
I'll ask to share within 1 or 2
Ma'am, from
days.
HR, we have not received 2 books.
It will be better, madam, if you kindly arrange to share the PDF all these papers in the group, then it will be helpful for us.
So that we will try to upload it in the website also, so that
Yes,
we could able
yes.
to download. Okay.
Actually, I discussed this issue with Deepak sir. Deepak sir showed some link, give me some link, but that link is available only some scanned copy, and that is not in a complete form for training development and other papers also. I have checked it. That is not complete form, only some 2-3 chapters or half chapters like that. So it will be better.
We will try within 1 or 2 working days. We'll try it.
Thank you, madam. And madam, my next query is that our next class today is from 6:30. No, madam?
6:30. That's why I'm written that other 2
Sure, sure.
FM classes
Sure,
are remain
sure.
same with
Thank
the
you,
time. There is no
Thank-
change in time. Fine.
Sure. Thank you, madam.
Okay. Thank you. We'll wait
Thank you,
for 6:30 for the next class.
Madam,
Thank
another query I have.
Phone.
If somebody is willing to substitute his specialization, but in not in the place of putting his books to the counter, or not in the state of
No, there is no
shifting
issue.
it. Then
There is no issue. If you
okay,
change
madam.
the website and you are staying outside of Odisha, so you are not
Okay.
able to come to change it, there is no issue. You can read by yourself. When you came to Odisha, you will change it.
Okay,
No
madam.
issues in that.
Then madam, how particular student will submit his book, existing specialization book?
You can send by anyone. You
Okay,
can
madam.
courier that books to anyone, and the
It
fellow
will be
person will
accepted,
with
na?
your details. Huh?
Madam, it will be accepted, na? If we put the book in.
No issues.
Okay, madam.
If book counter will not accept, you send the first person to me. I will
Okay, madam.
arrange all this, whatever required, I will arrange.
Okay, madam.
But
If
you send the
another
books with
thing,
anyone
madam.
else, we will change it. Yes.
Madam, if we send the books with books by some other person, then what is the document we need to
Your ID
send
card,
them?
your ID card is required. A photocopy is okay. And
Okay,
what
madam.
option you have chosen, that you have to send it along
Okay,
with the
madam.
fellow person.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you for confirming us.
Ma'am,
Okay,
good
thank you.
evening.
Yes.
One request is that last year questions papers, I mean 2023.
That we will share shortly. By tomorrow we will,
Sure,
share.
ma'am. Sure.
It was with me. I will share because current is not there yet. So it was in my computer. I will share tomorrow.
2023, right, ma'am?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good